The back page of the Times says it was boring. It wasn't that boring, was it?
No, I wouldn't say it was boring. It was actually quite exciting for the first kind of 25, 26 minutes, and then the last kind of 10 minutes was pretty exciting. There was a spell in the middle that was a bit kind of,
we can see this.
Yeah. But, you know, the more I think about it, you know, you kind of have to think that it was a sense of privilege to actually be there to kind of, you know, I think maybe you look back this in 10, 15 years time, hopefully, you'll say, wow, like, I mean, you were there to kind of see these players and the talent and the pool that is there.
Yeah.
Because regardless of all the other stuff, right, the outside stuff that people have to, they are just seriously good players.
The stuff that Cluxton mentioned in his speech.
Yeah,
the money and the population stuff. That was interesting, wasn't it? That was like,
it was interesting. Yeah,
he's been paying attention.
Yeah. I'd say, like, I mean, you know, is when you have greatness, I suppose, and you have people kind of saying like it's for one reason or another.
Yeah.
Like, the fact of the matter is, if you strip them down and you look at their ball skills, their calmness under pressure, their, you know, ability to bounce back, their determination, what they obviously do off the field, they're ticking all those boxes.
Yeah.
And again, no matter how much you put into, you know, you can talk about a lot of other aspects that would, okay, make up those different things as you go through your career, or as you go through a player, or even as you go through the system that is Dublin GAA.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you have to have that innate inside you. And a lot of those players, most of them have that. Like, I mean, they're practicing their left and right foot, all the different things. Like, they are just seriously talented people. They don't miss shots. You know, they get those crunch moments. They kill motive, or you know, they've anything that has happened, momentum killers, they get them. You know, if they want to switch the game, they get it. You know, they just have that ability just to hit you from all sides, and then they punish you. They punish mistakes like no other team.
They're also, this year was really interesting that several players would have had a spell of form that was a little bit below what we know they're capable of. So Conor Callaghan, people were wondering about his difficult second season. Paul Mannion's form early in the season, in the championship season, wasn't amazing. And then yesterday, in key moments, like Mannion, I thought had a shout for man of the match. Conor Callaghan was sensational.
Yeah.
Like, the turn for the goal is probably not going to get as much of play as the stuff that he did last year, but it was every bit as demoralising for the opposition. It's like there's a turn and there's a dummy solo.
Yeah.
For the second goal, and you're like, wow, that's sensational. Like,
and also his ability to get, you know, when he's in there, he's about to shoot himself, and at the last second he just pops the head up and he sees Scully gone, and he just gives him and the pass is even perfect. It's just there. It's like, just palm it in. You know, it's not behind him. You know, and that's in a split second. Like, he was going to shoot. You could see him probably thinking, okay, I'm away here. Just take a blast. And at the last second, he just gets the head up. Like, but your point is absolutely key. You watched them, and this is the thing about Tyrone, in that first 15, 16 minutes, certainly the first 5 or 7 minutes, where they still had plenty of ball, but they were taking pot shots from bad angles. And I was saying, oh, this is reminiscent of the semi-final last year, where they actually had a lot of ball, but they were taking crazy angle shots, you know, under pressure. They weren't looking for the extra pass. Most of Dublin's scores, and I think it was Eamon Donoghue who wrote in the Irish Times a couple of weeks ago that they actually haven't kicked a shot for goal outside the 45.
Yeah.
And they've kind of been in that D, you know, shooting from within the D. You look at it yesterday, they take the man on every single time, especially inside. O'Callaghan, Mannion, they take him on. They're so confident in their own speed, their own ball skills, their own, you know, skill level, that they'll take you on. And if that doesn't happen, okay, then they recycle it back out or whatever. But more often than not, they're shooting the percentage shot most times. Most of their scores are, it's a handy clip over the bar.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, wow, that was an amazing score.
Yeah.
It was just like, it's an inevitable score, nearly. You know?
Which is the complete opposite of the time that Donegal beat them, where in that first half alone, Connolly and Flynn kicked some of the greatest points you're ever going to see.
Yeah.
But it was unsustainable, obviously, and that's like, you know, you trace back that defeat and the evolution of this team and how they've changed as a group and what their philosophy is now versus that team, which was swashbuckling and brilliant to watch.
Yeah.
And hell for leather, go for it. And now they have changed the game. It's fair to say that if you're going to beat this team, you're not going to beat this team doing stuff that we've seen in the past. You're going to have to do something that is a little bit different.
You're going to have to bring that, like we were just chatting there off air, you're going to have to bring that efficiency level, which is up at 75, 80%. You're going to have to try get that down closer to 50. Now, so by doing that, you're going to have to make them get out of that area where they're shooting from inside the 40, you're going to have to make them, that they feel that they have to shoot from out there, that it's been going on so long and they're getting no joy from in there, that they're taking chances that they otherwise would never have taken. And that's quite difficult, because the Tyrone defence did well yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, they actually played quite good. You know, if you mark it up, if you go individual, man on man, you'd say, geez, I didn't. Like, I mean, most of those fellas would come off and probably say, I didn't have a bad day, I didn't get skinned today.
Let's bring some of the post-match celebrations to you. We'll be heading over to the hotel in a little while. Stephen Doyle is out there, but last night he managed to catch up with Darragh McAuley. Have a look.
Michael, that's your 6th Celtic cross in the back pocket. How does it feel?
It feels good. Yeah. Every year it's a bit of a roller coaster. You don't know where the loop's going to come, but it kind of worked out in the end, I suppose, this year.
I know you want to start these games. You came on, got a point, which helped seal the win. Does it make up for not starting, or are you still a little bit kind of frustrated?
Yeah, look, it's all good, I suppose, this time of the year. I suppose you kind of feel, look, I was coming back from an injury last year and I didn't get playing in the final. I know how frustrating that is, and his lads now in that position this year, and it's very frustrating for them. So everyone has their own kind of battles that they're kind of going through. Obviously I would have preferred to play more minutes, but like, that's just the way it goes. Yeah.
What's the competition like between yourself, Brian Fenton, James McCarthy, all the lads who might be playing midfield in the weeks leading up to the All-Ireland final?
Look, it's always huge. Lads are killing each other, of course they are. And if we ever lose that, then we're worth nothing to each other. So yeah, no, look, competition's crazy, but we wouldn't have it any other way.
What was Jim kind of telling the likes of yourself and Kevin McMahon when you're coming onto the pitch? Because I suppose it looked like you were home and hose in the closing minutes, then the penalty came, and then you're in a real dangerous situation then.
Yeah, you just have to be smart. You kind of need cool heads. We've kind of been through the ringer a few times, so it's not our first time being in the dungeons like that. So we're kind of well used to it. But yeah, look, you just can't go on trying to save the world when you come on. You just kind of go on and try and bring a bit of stability to the game, and inject a bit of little something if it's needed. So kind of see how it goes. Yeah.
I'm sure you're aware there's doubters out there, Michael, who have questioned Dublin's All-Ireland final wins, because you've only won them maybe by a point. It was won by 3 points. Do you feel you've answered those critics now, maybe the last critics you've had to answer, or is that something you've even taken into consideration? Do you use it as motivation?
Not in the slightest. What do you win by today?
Just 6 points today.
Oh, was it? Yeah, very good. Yeah, look, you just want to get the W at the end of the day, whatever, by 1, 2, 3, 6, whatever. It's all good.
How are you feeling now about going into another year? Like, Jim was in there talking about watching the club championship over the next few months. Like, are you as determined as ever now to put in good performance for Ballyboden and impress Jim ahead of next year?
Give us a rest, Steve, will you? Jesus Christ. No, I'm not thinking of any of that crack. I'm going to go have the crack tonight. That's what I'm going to do.
So what are you thinking about that?
Well, I'm just going to go and party. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a bit of crack, and we're going to see my friends, have a social life again for a little while, because we've been locked down. We've been machines for the last while, trying to get to this point, and you have to be machines, and that's how we go about it. But now we're going to let the hair down, have a bit of crack.
Give us a quick word about Brian Howard and Owen Merchant. First ever All-Ireland final starts.
Well, yeah, look, Brian Howard had an outrageous year. Someone needs to sort out that dummy. Look, I don't know what else can be said about him. He's a brilliant player, brilliant year, yeah, great attitude. And Merchant stepped up to the plate so late in the year and did a job against Tyrone twice. So they showed a bit of faith in him, and he backed them on it. So it was great for him.
That moment finally just in the dressing room when you all got in there together after picking up the cup was a nice moment.
It's always a nice moment, yeah. So we always play. I started a little transition from letting the secrets out. They always play Van Morrison days like this, so it has to be done. Followed by a bit of Bill Withers with you like this? Is that alright for you?
Absolutely, Michael.
Bill Withers, Lovely Day, and then Lean on Me. So there's a bit of tradition going on now, so it's all good.
How's the singing voice?
Mine, crap. But everyone else's, it's alright.
Here is Jonny Cooper speaking with Stephen Doyle in the aftermath of the game. Have a look.
Jonny Cooper, that's a 5th All-Ireland title for you, 5th medal. How does it feel?
Hasn't sunk in yet, probably, I don't think. It's very special times, it's hard to probably describe. Really good group of people there, and it's just a pleasure to play with them, and I guess it's just try and take it in our stride and enjoy the moments for what they are, because maybe they won't be here in the future, so it's just nice and special.
It's the biggest margin you've won an All-Ireland final by. I suppose there were some maybe people doubting Dublin because they'd never won a Dublin or won an All-Ireland title by a huge margin, a final by a huge margin. Is that something that played on the players' minds going into this one?
No, I don't think so. I think we were prepared. We had a lot of respect for our opposition, and we prepared in great detail for that. They brought a lot of enthusiasm and they got a great start, and we probably didn't perform particularly at the start of the game, and we kind of had to claw a bit of that lead that they had back. But again, testament to the guys there. There's some crucial scores, some crucial defending, and some very big shifts put in by some of the guys in particular. And I think the finishers just played their part and drove it home for us, because we were under the cosh towards the end.
What would you put the slow start down to?
I think they probably brought it to us, and we probably just, I wouldn't say weren't prepared, but they probably caught us out in a couple of balls. Defensively playing inside, they got a couple of scores, and look, that they're a great opposition, they're a great opponent, and they're going to get that if you give them time and space. So I guess a combination of them making good runs inside, and us just weren't able to cover them, I guess. As I said, the preparation that went into it, training was going very well and everything else. So they probably just caught us for a couple of minutes, first 10 in particular, and then before we got the grips with it, and then we managed to claw some of that lead back through some crucial goals and the penalty and everything else.
Was there a concern at the end then when Tyrone got that penalty that they closed the gap and they had time then to really push under pressure?
I wouldn't say a concern, but we've probably been in those moments and situations before in previous big games and games in general. So I guess we probably just stuck to what we were trying to do, and some of the outlet balls, the guys coming on, Cormac, Michael Darragh, Kevin Mack and others who were just in those positions, and Darren Daly got on kick out. So just a combination of things, I guess, to maybe see at home, but no real concern. But obviously something when we do look back on that tape to probably go after and probably prepare or do a little bit better on, hopefully the next time.
I know you don't want to give the opposition motivation before the game, but can you tell us now whether the achievement of 4 in a row and matching the likes of Kerry and the great Wexford team from the early 1900s, was it a motivating factor?
Not for me, no. Didn't really even resonate with me, to be honest. I stayed away from most of that, or all of it nearly, and didn't even come into my psyche, to be honest. I doubt it came into the other players' psyches. It wasn't talked about as a team, certainly. So look, we're just trying to knock them down as they come. I don't know if we're counting as they come or anything like that. I think we're just trying to go after as best we can, and we got a decent performance today. But as I said, when we look back, and we probably do a bit better, and there's many more guys and people who didn't get game time today that hopefully will be pushing on in a couple of months' time and just go after it again.
How did Owen Murchan and Brian Howard, in their first championship years and playing their first ever final starting, how did they do so well? Like, what is it that makes them such good players to be able to perform so coolly in such a pressure situation like this?
Well, no different. I guess the panel in general, they put in a lot of work to their own game, their analysis on opposition, their technical side of their own game, their physical training that we all need, nutrition, everything else. So they're just ticking the boxes, I guess, in that regard. And you've probably seen the trust that Jim has put in them, in particular. Some of them people that had good seasons this year. And look, they've been thereabouts on underage successes and teams as well. So it's not as if they came completely from left field. They're behind the scenes, I guess, in many respects, putting in the work before Jim gave them that trust. And look, they just picked up the ball and ran with it. And that's the way it's always been with Jim. If you get a jersey, you just you're trying to hold on to it as best you can, because there's somebody really, really close to you if you don't. So probably that's what the guys done, and all credit to them. They deserve every bit of plaudits that they get.
Would you like another one after this year?
Yeah, really would. We'll obviously enjoy the next couple of weeks, go back to the club, get a bit of downtime, and I don't know, whenever those moments and things come around that we analyse the game, knowing Jim and his setup, that'll be at some point fairly soon. So it's just an honour and a pleasure to play in the jersey, I guess. And many years we're all coming to games and watching, and now having the privilege and the honour to be out there and playing and getting these opportunities, it's just fantastic, and it's something I get years, but at the moment we're just, I guess, going after it as best we can and enjoying the moments for what they are.
It's Jonny Cooper yesterday speaking in the aftermath of the game. Stephen's mad to get them all ready for the drive for 5. He's insisting that they don't have any downtime.
No, absolutely. Stephen's really driving it himself.
We're going to head over to him now, and we can actually. Stephen, how you doing? Good morning to you.
Morning, Ger. Morning, Anthony.
That was a pretty harsh line of questioning, I thought, to the two lads you managed to buttonhole last night. So, just how prepared are you for this 5 in a row?
Listen, we don't rest up too long in Dublin, Ger. We're always thinking about the next trophy.
Yeah. So, are any of them awake yet so far? Have you seen any of them? How was the rest of last night? What are you hearing from that?
Well, I just got down here, spoke to a couple of my journalistic colleagues. Apparently, one of the players who shall remain unnamed turned up maybe a little bit the worse for wear, and was dying to get on the telly, but the lads wouldn't allow him. So I think he's gone off. I think he's gone off to the Boar's Head now. But I've just been speaking to Seamus McCormick, who's the handler of the footballers. So Jim Gavin is here, Philly McMahon are here. I'm going to try and get them over to have a chat with you guys back in studio, hopefully in the next 10 or 15 minutes. I think Jim's going to do a live piece with somebody from TV there. But, it's quiet enough. It generally is quiet enough. You'll see maybe generally in past years, maybe around 9 o'clock, you'll start seeing a few people coming down, and not all the players go too mental the night before. You'll always have a few players who have had a good sleep and have been well behaved.
Yeah. You've obviously been around this team over the course of the last decade or so. How intense have these celebrations been? There was a little kind of sense of almost like relief this year as opposed to the sheer outpouring of joy and emotion after the all-time classic matches that we've had against Mayo in recent seasons, for example.
Yeah, I think there just seems to be a feeling of the players really, there was a lot of questions put to them in the build-up to this about are they kind of taking these medals and all these trophies for granted, and there just seems to be a feeling even with the younger fellas that they really are treasuring these moments, that they're not letting them slip by too quickly, and that they aren't taking them for granted. You know, the likes of Brian Fenton and that, you'll hear them talking about how special these days are, celebrating with the team and being with this team. They all just seem to love being in each other's company. It's not just it's not just this machine that likes to hoover up Sam Maguire Cups or whatever the case may be, but they actually just love being with each other. And I think that's one of the key things I kind of felt yesterday talking to some of the players after the game. Yeah, and MDMA obviously was talking about the set list they have now to celebrate all Ireland wins in the dressing room. Yeah, he's a big music fan, Michael. I've met him at a few gigs and stuff over the years, so at least somebody's got some good music taste in that dressing room, because I don't think that's always been the way. Stephen, we'll let you go. Thanks a million. We'll talk to you in a little while. It's Stephen Doyle down in the Gibson Hotel, keeping an eye out, and hopefully we'll get to talk to some of the players and maybe Jim Gavin as well. Yeah. Listen, there won't be too many lads up at 8:30. That's guaranteed. They'll be doing well at 9:30 too. We've got some Instagram photographs. This is new. This is definitely something that in recent years we've actually got a bit of access to. I mean, back in the day, the change room was actually free for all. Anybody could go in there. There's some great footage in Reeling in the years of post All-Ireland final dressing rooms, and then obviously they were on lockdown and nobody got in except maybe some photographers. So there's Bernard Brogan, 11,000 likes. It's not bad. Special day with special people. That's the twins. Here's this Cian O'Sullivan, Paul Mannion, my boy, teammates of course. Here's the inside the change room. Cian O'Sullivan, this is the warm-up area obviously. And it looks like the Gibson there. Oh no, that's the players' lounge, isn't it? Yeah. So at Croke Park, Jack McCaffrey with the sports file photograph. Let's go back to that one. Sorry, I was going to read that when you get stuck. With the least favourite member of the Mannion family. McCaffrey is actually he's very funny fellas. You get stuck, your least favourite, but have to pretend that it's all good. He is funny, isn't he? Yeah. No, he is. You know what? He has actually a great outlook on it. You know, like, I mean, he just doesn't take it too serious. He's brilliant. Kieran Kilkenny, Mannion. There you go. 1,200 likes on that one. Danny the Coronas. A big Dublin football fan, and actually a flatmate, or used to be a flatmate of Ken McManaman. So, best days of our lives. Dino. I'd say Dino must have been feeling, I've missed a couple of frees here very early on. He said that afterwards, that they kind of just sent a bit of a shiver through the team. Yeah. And it did. You can see, like, we were talking about this afterwards last night, that, like, all week long you're listening to, you're going to hammer them, you're going to hammer them, you're going to hammer them. Geez, it's great that you're going to have to collect it. And yesterday they became the equal of all of the other great teams that have ever played Gaelic football. Yeah. At some point, some of that begins to play into your head, that you're thinking, we're up against history here, as well as the opposition, and I just have to try and focus on the next ball. But Jesus, that's hard. It is hard. But like, the amazing thing was,
I suppose maybe neutrals and maybe people are just kind of clinging on to moments of, you know, kind of vulnerability, I suppose. And when he missed those 2 frees, you could actually hear it in the crowd.
Yeah.
And even probably Dublin supporters are like, oh, you know, is this going to be the kind of the way it's going to go today?
Yeah.
You know, so normally a pretty accurate and unflappable fella has, and his one, I think it was his second one, which was underneath the Hogan stand, pretty tricky enough shot off for a right-footed player, you know, coming across the goal, but he hit it really badly. And you could kind of say, but to be honest, they never panicked, Ger. Like, I never got the sense, even at 5-1, and it could have gone 6-1, it should have gone 6-1, Tyrone had a bad wide. They never looked, Cluxton certainly never looked panicked.
No.
The main worry I felt was they were getting their kickouts out way too easy, you know. And I know Tyrone were, if you watch it, they were dropping Kavanagh back pretty quickly. Like, he wasn't squeezing up, so he was directly going back into that hole. Now, they were only playing really one in between their full back line. I think it's something that when you look back on it, Hart will probably say we probably didn't need to do it. Yes, it might have prevented a goal or two, I don't know, but like, I mean, I don't know if Kavanagh even has the agility anymore, because, you know, when a fella gets by, someone like O'Callaghan gets by, like, Kavanagh was lucky probably not
to get black heart.
Yeah, because there was once or twice where he kind of just last-ditch tackle, pulled down a couple of Dublin fellas.
It almost looked like, oh, you're too good a player to be black hearting. This is going to be a black mark against me for the rest of my life.
It was a bit of that, yeah. Like, I mean, he was lucky enough, you know, because it was definitely nearly a last man back type tackling. You know, if they got past him, it was definitely goal time. But I think we spoke about, and I spoke about the thing about being brave, and I think Tyrone needed to be, and I think that bravery needed to start. Like, I think you said earlier on, I don't know how many kickouts, but I think they had 94% completion on their own kickouts.
Two went awry from 31, so I think it was 29 successful.
Like, that's you need to squeeze at both ends, and I can understand. But if you look at Dublin's success in that period where they got to 2-2, came from massive pressure on Morgan's kickouts, massive pressure. Like, I mean, they had the bank of 4 right on their own full forward line. Then they had the next bank of 4, and then they had 2. So they were squeezing them up. And obviously from the press box, you get a great view of where the space is.
Yeah,
and there was none.
Yeah,
like he was literally, you felt sorry for him, because he was kind of saying, and his only space was mostly out to his right on the sideline. So he obviously has to move himself over. So obviously, as he's doing that motion, even
everybody realises where it's going.
Everyone's already starting to direct across.
That. Yeah. To look back on the season, it's not a vintage season of Gaelic football. There were some really good games. There were some massive moments in it. Does the Super 8 as a concept work? I mean, obviously, it's a 3-year experiment, so more than likely we're going to sit through the full 3 years of it before we decide. Like, it doesn't really. It's like it's a halfway house. Everybody knew it was going to be a halfway house to something better. But
I think it's a halfway house. I think it is a halfway house, and it's a stepping stone to say, well, look, I think it helps the bigger teams, the bigger panels. I think if they're going to do it, they have to take the games out of Croke Park to make it somewhat, you know, of an entertainment factor. When you go down to the provincial grounds, that's vital.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Croke Park is just not a nice place to be with 30,000, 40,000 people in it. It's terrible. Be it as a player or a supporter. You know, and if you want to try to get this, you know, look, I mean, it's funny, the place was packed, obviously, yesterday, and like where we were sitting, like, I mean, you know, the press box gets full around you, which is the only time in the year it actually does. Yeah. But there was a couple of kids sitting beside Dublin, and like, I mean, you know, they were pretty bored, you know, and I was thinking back to games when I was a kid, going into, be it hurling games or whatever. You go to Thurles, you go to Munster finals, and literally you're just on the edge of your seat and you're watching the, like, I mean, and you kind of go, not that you feel sorry for these, I suppose, Dublin kids, or be it any supporter, because it has become, football unfortunately has become this methodical, I mean, you want to call it Borefest, but I definitely think you need to remove those games out of Croke Park. You need to get that sense of kind of madness and that parochialism back into it, and of occasion, which Croke Park doesn't lend itself to that if there's not 70,000 people in it. You
would hope that the whole Newbridge or Nowhere, like in the cold light of day, the analysis of that is a learning experience as opposed to something to, you know, feel upset about from the hierarchy at Croke Park and the organisers who actually go. What we learned there is you can have amazing occasions that are sellouts, and if people can't get to them, that's okay. It's okay for people not to be able to go to matches because we've sold every ticket in this small ground.
Yes.
It'd be great if we could always accommodate every single person. Like the ideal scenario somebody said was, you know, you're sellout -1 because then everybody who wanted a ticket got one. But like, that's not how life works.
Yeah, no, it's not.
And we have so many of these tight little grounds around the country that these games could be sensational. And you could see too that when Tyrone came out of their defensive shell, that actually there's loads of really good footballers there.
Yeah.
And they could be a team that plays progressive, interesting football, that has a little bit of Dublin's attention to detail and methodology of playing. Like, the game isn't ruined. The game is actually very savable if you know.
I think the game is massively savable. Like, I mean, if you look at the last 7 or 8 or 9 minutes of the game yesterday, right, the crowd got really engaged. Why? Because Tyrone went back to a very traditional style of play. So they put Kavanagh in full forward and they actually started to kick the ball in, but it caused a bit of panic and it caused a bit of mayhem and it caused a bit of kind of like, oh, where's this going? Yeah. You know, kind of thing. And really, you know, Jim Gavin won't care whether he's entertaining or not, right? He's winning All-Irelands. Absolutely. And neither would Mickey Hart care whether he's entertaining. Jim McGuinness didn't care whether he was entertaining.
No, that's not their job.
Or not. It's not their job. But, you know, Croke Park is a very different pitch to Newbridge or to Tullamore or to Navan or to Casement Park or to Clonus or wherever.
Yeah.
It is a massively big pitch and it brings everything else involved in it. So nearly, and if you're going in as a, you know, it's trying to strategise for yourself for playing Dublin, the game in Omagh was a very different game to the game in Croke Park because you just essentially have more space. So you're deciding, okay, how do I cut out the space? How do I make sure that I protect myself a bit more? All those different things. And you know what? If Dublin are going to get caught, can they get caught where they go to another ground in the Super 8s? Potentially, yeah. You know, but to get that kind of sense of where you're getting a bit of a festival of it, and you're getting, I think teams certainly, you know, if I was setting up, if the two of us were setting out to take over an intercounty team for next year, you're saying to yourself, listen, we have to rewrite the copybook on this. We have to do like Alan McGuinness and probably plenty of other teams over the years where we have to decide there is another way where we can, let's not go down okay, you can use the basketball parlance to a certain degree, but let's try something totally different because Gavin has that ticked, you know. Now obviously we need the talent and the pool of talent is the big thing and Dublin are the most talented team out there.
Yeah.
They just are.
Now the other thing that they've done is obviously they've perfected their skill levels and you know, the little clips that you see from training, it's like there's always 1,000 footballs out there. It's just an interesting kind of little snippet into that world because obviously so much of it is kept secret. I want to play you this. It's Mickey Hart speaking with Moira Trassa, Gaelic, after defeat in yesterday's All-Ireland football final.
Two things I felt affected the game, and people may say, what does she know, she's only watching it, but one was that penalty obviously that came from a Tyrone mistake back in the defence and came all the way down, and Ivor, though, the other thing as well was the amount of wides, the decision making. I mean, a lot of the times you get the ball down to where you could to score and then it went awry.
Yeah, well, decision making is always critical at this level, and you know, we've been talking about that all year. We'd like to get the best player in the best position to have a shot. Taking shots from acute angles or under pressure is not something we recommend, but in the heat of this battle we can't expect a lot of the players to do everything all of the time the way you'd like them to. They're young players, they have to learn. I think they hope they'll learn a lot from today.
You got to the top of the mountain this year when lots of people didn't expect you to, and it's been a really hard few years for you. On a day like today, I can only imagine that it must take an emotional toll as well.
Well, it does. I mean, if you're involved in this game, it is your life, and you know. But of course, as we know, it's your life to a certain extent. There's more important things in life, and that's not to diminish how much this means to the people of Tyrone or people who follow Gaelic games. And we were doing our level best to make this a great day for them. But when all's said and done, you have to realise that, you know, we don't write the script, we just try our best to play it, and we'll leave that in God's hands how it's going to go.
What did you say to your players at the final whistle when you were talking to them?
I just said you sort of, as the old saying goes, you died in your boots. You know, they didn't give up, they gave it everything. There was some wonderful turnovers, some work rate when people were obviously very tired, and they give it their all. And I said that I'm so proud of people that can do that.
Yeah, they did get very tired when you were watching it, you could see, but they, like you said, they did die with their boots on. They kept going to the point where Tyrone fans around the 17th minute had hope again.
Oh, absolutely. The game came to a new life that seemed to be dripping away from the game, and when the 70 minutes come up and there was 7 extra, then people believed that anything was possible, and so it was.
And finally, before I let you go, even though you've lost, you still look really positive as an individual.
Well, that's it. I suppose that's what life's like now. When you get to my age and have experienced all the things I've done, you put everything in context, and in the context of the greater things of life, it's disappointing, it's a sad day for football fans, but life goes on.
Cora Staunton joined us at our OTB roadshow last week at Croke Park. She dropped a bit of a bombshell saying that she thinks that she may have played her last game for the Mayo footballers. Here she is on playing underage football.
And how would 12-year-old boys take to Cora Staunton scoring 1-7 on them?
Yeah, at the start they all wanted to mark you. I'd say after 15 minutes no one really wanted to mark you.
It's not a good look for a 12-year-old boy to have that happen.
No, it's so. Yeah, no, I was lucky. Like I was lucky. I played with the likes of Alan Dillon and Gary Dillon, his brother, and all the lads at the time. They were very good. They protected you and looked after you. You'd obviously get the odd belt here and there, when a goal or two went in, but they always looked after you. But going back to your talent, I knew I was talented, but I think it came to a stage maybe where I was 14 or 15. And I was going through a really rough part of my life at the time. My mother had got sick and would have died when I was 16. And, I started to maybe go down the wrong path and started to put on weight and just had no interest in football. Until a couple of people kind of put me back into the right path and dragged me back into football. And then I had to work really hard. Okay. Because I was getting that bit older, maybe had a bit of weight on, and, wasn't the person, the star that I would have been growing up and things were easy. And then from them few years that we done very well with Mayo, from 17 till I was about 21, 22, we won 4 All-Irelands, we were in another one and lost by a point to Laois. I had to work really, really hard, right. And I think them 5 years were the basis of me wanting to make myself better. We had an absolutely unbelievable manager at the time,
Finbar Egan,
that made me want to be the footballer I was, and probably made me, the sports person I am today. That's been very driven, and as was said earlier, we talk about competing, and it's all about once everyone's happy and enjoying it. I suppose I come from a club, I come from a culture where we love winning, and we've been doing it all our lives. And I suppose even now, I've been playing so long and being 36 years of age, I still want to make myself better, whether it's for Carnacon, whether it's for the Giants in Sydney, or whatever sport I am. I want to be the best I can be.
It's Cora Staunton Speaking with Joe during the week. You can get the whole thing available for download on all of our podcast streams, and we streamed it live again on Saturday evening, so it's up on youtube.com/ off the ball as well if you want to see the whole thing. I should remind you, of course, that OTB AM is live with Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products. We're here every morning in association with Screwfix.ie. Let's talk a bit about Jim Gavin, because the achievements, I do see Darren's point that they don't get a lot of credit, because there is this other conversation that has to be had about the resources, the playing population and all that kind of stuff. At the same time, the quality of football that they're producing is mesmeric, and that comes from the culture, and the culture comes from the manager. And he has definitely, talking to various people, they say that he gives you advice. He doesn't. He gives you, he tells you 2 things, and if you do them, great, and if you don't do them,
not so great.
Well, you didn't do it, and so off you go. Yeah. But I informed you what I wanted from this setup. You were given fair opportunity to do it. We gave you the support system around it. It's up to you to achieve these things, and that there's no screaming and shouting, that there's no kind of, there's none of that kind of stereotypical management speak that you see. There's no banging hurls on tables. There's nothing. It's just like, we're all mature adults here. We're trying to collectively achieve the same thing. And yet the football is beautiful at times.
I think it's, you kind of go back to the Peter Caffrey days, or even Tommy Lyons, and you look at, quite often a team will mirror the coach. You know, I suppose that's always the way, you know, it can happen. It doesn't always necessarily have to happen, but quite often it does happen. And, you know, Gilroy was instrumental in changing that kind of element, of that swashbuckling kind of element, and it's, you know, it's kind of highs and lows of that Dublin kind of setup in the 2000s to a more rigorous and I kind of, not only a potent outfit, but a more resilient outfit, an outfit that wouldn't just crack under pressure, because, you know, there was lots of examples where they did over the years, and like, I mean, not much like Sen and Connell even just admitting to it, you know, there was times where they look back and go, but there was moments in those games where, such as like the Mannion thing that we spoke about, where that didn't happen. Someone just didn't put the shoulder to the wheel. They saw themselves as a forward, not as a corner back and a forward. And that's what, again, when I go down to those small elements, that's what Gavin has probably instilled. As much as like Cody would have instilled with Kilkenny, it's those things of, well, listen, this is what we'd like you to do. Your job is this, and you've done great, and you've got on the panel because you're an unbelievable forward, but this is also what is expected of you. It's not, you know, as you say, banging the table. It's like, this is it. And if you do those things, well, then you have a fair chance of winning All-Irelands and staying on the team. It's a lot easier to give that message and to reinforce that message, obviously, when you're winning, because the person receiving that message goes, well, he must be right because I am winning all these things. Where discontent and disharmony comes in is when you're giving that message, but you're not winning. And someone then starts to question, well, actually, his message is wrong. Or people outside start to question, his message is wrong. The message might be absolutely correct. You just mightn't have the talent pool that's there. Or there could be other elements going against you. So he's coming from a position of strength, but at the same time, to keep those players, and like, I mean, from the outside in, you may make assumptions about certain players in there, but we don't know the players that are in there. You know, people might have thought that Connolly is a bit of the only kind of enigma, that there might be plenty of other fellas in there who are, shall we say, you know, kind of out there on their own, or a little bit of an outlier. But yet he keeps them all very much in-house. He keeps them all very, very focused. He keeps them all very humble. You heard Philly McMahon saying there's no egos. And to be fair, he has managed to, you know, get rid of that. Like, I mean, the big thing with Gilroy was the click. There was a click there that certainly was there for a number of years, and Gilroy got rid of the click. That click were very powerful in the direction of that Dublin team, who would play, what the style of play they would do, talking around. And you can imagine that it's very, yes, there's leaders within the group, and I'd say he empowers those leaders, but at the same time, when he speaks or something has to be outlaid from the backroom team, they all listen and don't question it.
Yeah. And the transformation in the team has been so spectacular, like just the turnover of players from that first team to the team that took the field yesterday. We've got a couple of photographs from the 95 one of Jim Gavin on his knees celebrating. It's quite a famous photograph at this stage, obviously, because of what he goes on to become. You know, he was a really good player, like not a great player, but he is undoubtedly one of the greatest managers in Gaelic football history now as a result of what's happened. And here's a kind of calmer, smiling and shaking hands yesterday, but definitely was emotional yesterday in a way that a couple of the other All-Ireland final victories haven't been so emotional. There was kind of a sense of relief. I think there was definitely this year, it was like, look, we've done it with this team, we've done, Ger MacAuley isn't part of it. There was pressure on us because of that. There was pressure on us because of other various outside factors that, you know, you can't control.
Well, you mean, sometimes it's like, I mean, to go back to, we're slightly messing with Darren there, but let's just flip it for a second. Let's say they lost yesterday. Like, let's say just Tyrone causing pressure, and let's say they just got Tyrone nicked it. The whole question would be Connolly and his dealing with that, and stories would come out on that. You know, people would say that inevitably their best player, you know, from a forward, it was sitting in the States, you know, playing in a
championship. Kicking 12 points from play last Sunday.
Yeah, so why wasn't it done? What was done, you know, to get him? But the first question would be, why didn't you do more to get Darragh McAuley back into the team? So there was pressure on him, you know, like, I mean, and I think it's, you know, it's probably a miss of people to say, you know, that, you know, he's the head of this juggernaut. and he has everything behind him. At the same time, he has the same pressures that other managers do. He'll have the same pressures even with dealing with the likes of Bernard Brogan yesterday, being outside the panel, you know, to do that to a guy who's given you so much. And
who like bust his balls to get back this year from a cruciate, like
correct.
in 5 months.
You see the effort that he's done, all those different things, the history of the Brogan family, all those different things, the pressures that would come on, should we pick him or not? Even some guys like Paddy Andrews.
It would have been really easy to stick Bernard Brogan on the bench yesterday. A really easy thing to do is just like, yeah, no problems. Look at all the other forwards that we have the opportunity to. You're on the bench, you made the bench, that's a great story. But actually, much bigger story is, no, these guys actually deserve their place, and I have to be true to the boundaries that I've set down. And
if that's your boundary, if that's your mantra, right, you know, so if my mantra is, listen, Jerry, you've gone really well, you get the jersey, but then you start to mess up. If I do not hold fast to that, if I decide to sway a little bit and say, well, actually, okay, you're not going great, or, you know, Mr. X is giving you skinning there in the thing, or, you know, you've been caught, you were out drinking or something, you know, you just stepped outside the lines. If I then decide that actually that's okay, well, then your boundaries have gone. And everyone in the panel will take a sniff of that and they'll go, actually, he's not really holding to it. And it would be like a cancer within the squad. If he has set the boundary, he has to stick to that all the way. And that's why Bernard, for example, didn't get on yesterday.
Here he is talking with Maura Tracy yesterday evening. Have a look.
From that, Jim Gavin, I want to hear now how you feel, not about the process, not about the team, not about the feeling of Dublin. How do you feel this evening?
Firstly, going to be in the Margaret. Thanks for that. And we're just personally, I'm just delighted. You know, I'm just thrilled for the players. Thrilled for the players, and just thrilled for the fans, and that's why we do what we do as a management team. We're in a very privileged position to be asked to manage an inter-county team. We're obviously very proud Dubs. We're all born and bred in Dublin, and we're just thrilled to see the boys representing the Dublin County in the sky blue jerseys, and then when they get a bit of tin and a bit of success at the end of it, it even makes it more special. So I'm just so happy for them. I'm just so happy for all of our families and friends and supporters, and I'm just really looking forward to a great night.
I'd say you're happy for yourself as well, though.
Absolutely, yeah. Of course, this is all a personal satisfaction. You commit so much time to it, but again, it's all volunteer time. You know, we all have professional lives outside of sport, and from management to players, there's no financial gains in this. You know, I was at under 10s yesterday morning, Saturday morning, and you see all the kids coming on with their mums and dads, and then you see the likes of Alan Brogan, you know, fantastic stalwart for Dublin football for many years, bringing his son along and being involved in the coach, and Ray Cosgrave as well. And you go, that's the uniqueness of the sport that we play and that we're part of. The GAA, the Gaelic Athletic Association, is a community volunteer-based sport, and it's great. There's a fantastic crowd here today. But the players and the management teams and the background teams, we're all volunteering our time, and that's you know, you're just happy that the time that you put in it's been worthwhile.
It's funny when you're there, kind of getting a little bit confused thinking about that under 10s game. I'd imagine an All-Ireland final weekend, time probably goes really quickly, but also really slowly as you're trying to tie up all the loose ends.
It does. Well, at least the senior players listen to me. Under 10s can be a bit more challenging, but it's great to see them. And at that age, they just want to go out and play and have fun and take scores and it's just great. It's a real leveller.
Yeah, so let's head back over to the Gibson, and Stephen Doyle is there. Stephen, a quiet morning there. It turns out that the team let loose last night and they're celebrating wildly.
Yeah, they certainly are. I have to say, Ger, because I've been here every morning after the All-Ireland final wins, and you'll generally get about 5 or 6 players coming through before this time of the morning, but from what I've heard, there's a fair few of them gone down to a very well-known establishments that they like to have a few beverages in at this hour of the morning. So it just seems, and I think more so the older guys like Paul Flynn, Paddy Andrews, these kind of fellas definitely seem to be letting the hair down a bit more so this year than they have in previous years.
Stephen, what's your instinct, knowing them as well as you do, in terms of coming back for next season? Do you expect that there will be some retirements, some enforced retirements, that Jim will actually try and freshen it up? Because, you know, we've seen before that 5 in a row is almost impossible to do in this sport.
Yeah.
Particularly just the level of competition, but also because fatigue sets in.
Yeah, definitely. But I'd have to say, look at Bernard Brogan this year and look how you know, how desperate he was to get back after that cruciate injury. Like, it would have been so easy for him to pack it up. And I saw him outside yesterday warming up on the pitch with wearing the number 27 shirts. He was the next man up in case somebody got injured in the warm-up. Still determined. And I really think that the likes of Michael, Darragh McAuley, Paul Flynn, Kevin McMahon and these kind of guys, they want to be around. And I'd say Jim Gavin will want them around as well, because these fellas can still set a really good example to some of the younger fellas coming through, like the likes of Owen Merchant and Brian Howard, these guys that we've seen this year. So I have to say, even looking at Michael Darragh McAuley, and I know he got a laugh at my question about asking him would he be around next year and was he hoping to impress with Ballyboden and St. Enda's. Like, these guys are winners, they're serial winners, and I think if there's a chance of getting another All-Ireland title next year, they want to be around for that.
Yeah, there's a pretty good chance of it as well. Look, we'll let you go and try and rouse some of them out of their beds, and we'll see that good stuff from you a little bit later on. Thanks a million, Stephen.
Thanks, Ger.
It's Stephen Doyle from the Gibson Hotel there this morning. Check out offtheball.com and our various social feeds for it. I mean, I don't begrudge any of them having a good night or actually.
I feel sorry for poor old Philly. I'd say he's literally every single camera and every single journalist are like, okay, I'll go again at it.
Yeah.
You know? I'd say he actually feels like having a drink.
It's a bit harsh. So we'll stick the stats up from yesterday. So the interesting stuff here was the kickouts. I thought kickouts, Dublin at 31, Tyrone at 24, own kickouts won 29. There were two that went awry. They went over the sideline. One of them went over John Small's head. I can't remember the second one. I think it was the opposite side of the pitch, so over the Cusick stand in the first half.
Yeah. I remember it actually. Yeah, I think I can't remember. They Tyrone did turn them over on a number of occasions where they won it, where they won the free or they won the kick out, but they did turn them over well. Tyrone didn't do too badly on their own. Like 18 out of 24 is probably as good. I'd actually like to see everyone else this year, but that's pretty decent. The problem was Morgan hit that really bad one. It was a bit of a miss kick. Remember the one just before the penalty? He went straight down the middle. I think he was trying to find someone down the middle and he just miskicked it. I think it went straight to O'Callaghan.
It's funny because that obviously sets the whole team back and makes them really terrified about what's going to happen. But they actually scored after that. Like, they stopped the rot really quickly. They didn't follow their tent. And it's funny too because Dean Rock was saying that he missed the few early frees and that kind of. That affected the team as well in the aftermath, and you could see that. So they are human, like, you know, you just need
the massive stat for me.
You needed Mayo there yesterday, basically.
6 wide is a massive stat. You know, that is like, I mean, that they just don't kick wides.
Yeah,
like, I mean that is, you know, 16 wides for Tyrone. Like, I mean, you half that. You know, like, I mean, and again, it goes down to people could say, oh well, 6 wides. You know, did they have much of the ball? Of course they did. But again, it's where they take their shots from, who takes the shots. You know, you talked to him. I heard McCaffrey. I think it was Marriage, who was actually interviewing him a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying, you know, my ability is taking fellas on, my speed. And he said, you know, my thing is probably not shooting, and he's kind of made a bit of a laugh and joke about it. And he said other guys, their thing is, so straight away, you know, like, I mean, they're constantly just playing to their strengths.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, it goes back, like, I mean, listen, you're an NFL fan. It goes to sport. It's only inevitable that GAA and Gaelic football, like the old days of literally, like, I remember some teams, Jesus, when you think back to being one-on-one against fellas or having no support in the defence, having no fellas even tracking back, just catch it and kick it, you know, this kind of stuff. You think like, Jesus, what were we at?
Yeah.
You know, and now you can actually say, no, you're really good at this, and what we're going to do is we're going to make you do those things
again and again.
Yeah. And you're not so good at the other thing, so why not? Probably tell you what, we probably won't let you do that if that's okay. Yeah. But the unfortunate thing for it, still a lot of GAA players think, oh no, but I can do that as well. But Gavin has completely out of. Like, you do not see 2, 3, 4, bar Philly maybe, but you don't see fellas coming up and taking pot shots. Even Philly came up yesterday and hit it like on his left, a terrible shot. It got blocked down, and like, I mean, just
he had a bad one in the first half as well, like kind of ballooned wide.
Yeah, and he's probably the only one who can do that. But mostly I'd say 90% of the time, it's the fellas that you want taking the shots who take the shots.
Yeah, it's funny because in his piece, Mickey Hart actually said that, you know, we've worked really hard on getting the right person to be the person taking the shot, except yesterday in the big game that got away from the players a bit, and you could kind of see that. So maybe they're the new Mayo team, and they're the ones who are actually going to challenge them over the next couple of years, where they get that decision making a bit better. But why
have Kerry been so good over the years? The right fellas take the shots at the right time. You know, more than likely.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, that is it. You know, it's the go-to guys who inevitably are shooting.